Rolling! Hello, neighbors out there in other lands, and you people here. I always forget people. At least some of you are getting decent enough. Last time we did one, I said, hello, and I made comments about here and there. I didn't mention Toronto. I didn't mention poor old Fred Stark, and I didn't mention all those people hiding out there. I know who you are. They're getting audio versions of these tapes in the woods, in the forest of California. I keep hearing about that, and I do not for a minute believe that you're actually out there growing squashes. And I do not believe that you're out on some kind of religious retreat. So at any rate, hello to Philadelphia and to New York and to Toronto and to Fred and the people hiding out in the woods in California, and there are even some that every now and then I hear hiding out and running about between California and Oregon, and the people in Arizona, and where else? And everywhere else. Oh, all right, LA. For what I started to say, by the way, I periodically think about doing up tapes instead of just epilogues like this, is to do up like a once a week tape just for the people here, since we're now been trying to open it up and having strangers, the public, just come in. And I know, of course, out there you people are doing the same. But rather than do that, I have considered again of doing like a tape a week, and not necessarily talking about what I've been talking about the 3 times a week, except that would require that we meet again. And if those of you out of town, and those of you here obviously know it, tried that not too long ago, meeting on Saturday, and it did not seem to fly real well with all the people here named Orville and Wilbur, which includes everybody here. But at any rate, to let you know, if you need something for imagination, I was again thinking about starting to meet down here on Saturday and just tape something. Now, I won't tell you what, we just not necessarily had anything to do verbally with what we were talking about during the week, just for the people in other cities. But as I said, 3 times a week seems to be pressing a lot of people. Of course, some people be pressed by once a week, and I started, that was what really brought some of this up, that I was going to say to you people out there and you people here, periodically there is a kind of stupidness that sweeps across people. Everybody. We all get hit by it. But it periodically happens. It happens here. It happens out there in the world. Now, without going into... Out in the world, it is too large, and it is too fast and slow to be properly noticed. Now, there's an awareness of it, and it comes out in such ideas as astrology, which, as all of you should know, I'm not inferring there's anything to do with it. It is based on something. Everything is. But anything that the collective knows, you can forget about it. But there's just a common suspicion. It's why people are open to ideas like astrology and ideas that if you take the base of the Great Pyramid and multiply it times 3 and like that, and if it comes out and you subtract your grandmother's hat size, and that the answer comes out in the last digit's an odd number, that means that next week will be a bad day to invest in squash futures. The whole point about, the planets or something can affect what's going on, or when a full moon happens, life becomes a little crazy. People are open to that for the reason that there is a kind of, I was, of course, trying to extract all the squashness and the foolishness out of it. It's just a kind of stupidness. And you've got to be a little out of the ordinarily stupid not to be aware of it. Just in yourself, that just suddenly you turn around, and I don't give you any further ways to have stupid dreams that by telling you it happens once a week or once a month. You should just suddenly be aware, though, by now, that every now and then it seems as though you have been overcome, that there's been like an invisible overcoat was suddenly thrown over you. For you, that is each of us, an extra heavy dose of stupidness. But now you should know if later that day you're out running, doing the right thing, and you've been eating your wheat bran, and you're running right along, and suddenly out of nowhere, running on flat land across a parking lot, you turn your ankle and fall. But now you should know, not that it helps, but just as you go down, you go, I knew it. I'm not even going to bother to look up and see where the moon is or go, check my chart, because you already knew it. That certain kind of, it's some extra stupidness. All right. But as I was saying, everybody knows that in a sense. There's why such things as astrology, and we're back, parts of religion are based upon it, ideas of fate, all that. It happens here, and it just sort of brought it up, that things can begin to, you look around, and since we don't get a chance to deal in good gossip and personal anecdotes, and I know how much people enjoy that kind of shit. Around here, and if I was out in California, Toronto, plus it happens by mail, which is worse than circumcisions by mail. For instance here, suddenly all kinds of little things that I turn around that should be being done here, and it's like suddenly people who are just as much a part of this as anybody, it's like suddenly that you turned your head, or you didn't see them for one night, and it's like suddenly some kind of extreme, what was that great old science fiction movie about some kind of invisible thing that locked onto people's heads, whatever it was. It was like, this great big invisible hand of stupidity suddenly grabbed people. It's like, you show up to meet here or in Venice or in Toronto or New York, and you go in and somebody was in charge of being here and opening the door. And it's not that they're not here, they're staying outside, and you try to get in, and they go, oh. You understand? It's extreme, from one view, extreme stupidness. Now, having said that, there's another aspect to this that I'm going to use an example, the obvious one, since I'm already talking about that. But it seemed to be us doing this, but as always, not just the people out there getting the public tapes, but that's not just pointing at my head. Then you're a revolution if it's going to happen. If anything is happening, it's happening in you. But in weak moments, we're all getting rained on. There's this kind of, I was calling it stupidity, but I don't mean that. It's the collective weight of the collective. It is the atmospheric pressure on everyone's nervous system of being here alive on this planet. So it's not stupid. I just said that so I could make a hand gesture. But, as would seem to be reflected in us doing this, for any group to hold together, every now and then I hit this, but I would like for you to try and hear it. It's why I was taking the time to do an epilogue for the people out there and you here, to hear it again inside of you. Because I'm going to start off, we got to talk about us doing this. And me telling people, get new people and get TV stations. It's all in here. Any kind of group, if it was somebody doing this especially, or some version, some kiddie, sissy version of this, all the way from this to a bird-watching society. The way that a group normally is held together in the city is to set up and to keep going the eternal building fund drive, which that is busy work. They wouldn't want to hear that, but that is always something, which is what my use of the eternal building fund drive, that surely all of you know that from your days in religion or from observing. Any group to hold together, if it be religion, or if it just be a political party, or if it just be a bunch of people that get together and let's study philosophy. It can go from what would appear to be an extremely tangible activity to that which would appear to be almost negligible insofar as it being something physical. That is, a philosophical society. It could be a society, a group of people could get together to try and to figure out why groups of people get together. How about that? Is that philosophical enough? In other words, and of course part of their first agreement was, whatever we do, we don't want to become a regular, just mechanically held together group. And they get together and say, hey, I've been looking for somebody like you. And so he says, all right. As soon as you say, all right, you put a comma, you know what's coming, don't you? There is no such thing as a group being held together, a group of people, theoretically. If they were, they would all be revolutionists. The ordinary brain it can't hold itself together. The centrifugal force of growth is such. Were you hearing the Kairoot tonight? That large parliaments can be constructed of small members. Trusting none of you took that personally. How else do you explain? How else in a finite world can a complex machine, the human body, the kingdom of thoughts hold themselves together? There is no such thing as a complex machine. There's a thing in a 3D world. Inside the closet is a thing made up of smaller things. And for it to hold together, for it to resist the force of the centrifugal force of what growth does, expanding in all possible directions in a 3D world, is expanding in 4 directions that you can feel. And it's more than that, but simultaneously. For that to happen, it cannot happen on what appears to be a theoretical basis, a philosophical basis. Do I have to ask whether you people are lost? So you wouldn't admit it now that we're not talking to the public. Oh, no. You understand? A group can get together and apparently, and they can agree beforehand, we will not raise money, we're not going to build a building, we're not going to be together. Let's say that you saw an ad, I just don't want you to lose it because it's still all in here. It's what drug you, or should have in some way, to be interested in this, but it could happen that you read an ad that says, I am a student of philosophy, I'm interested in meeting very intelligent people, I want to be more intelligent, I got no axe to grind, I'm not trying to start anything, if there's anybody out there interested in this, call my number. And so you call it, and the guy says, I've just always been interested in thinking. I've been interested in all kinds of matters that I've never met anybody that had my interest. And you say, well, that sounds like me. And you get together. And 7 or 8 people show up. And they decide. The guy says, all right, I'll temporarily be the chair. See, I know how to talk. Politically correct. I'll be the chair. Just temporarily. I'll be the ad hoc chair. You can call me ad, though. And so I'm doing this fictitious guy, and he's got the people there, and he says, all right, we'll get together and we'll discuss all kinds of, it just be open. We'll have like our own little group here. We'll be like a little academy. We'll be like our own little internal Elysian fields. We'll be like a little school without walls, no boundaries. We'll just get together and we'll talk about anything we want to. And all the people that showed up for the, from the ego, yeah. And we're not going to have any Jews. We're not going to elect anybody. I'm getting it going. And I'm going to sit down like the rest of you. We're not going to have any kind of hierarchy. You don't have to be here. We're not going to have a regular meeting. Well, and then people realize, well, you got to have something. You got to have some kind of structure. They're done for. You hear me, don't you? It's not cynicism. You're not waiting for Captain Irony to show up, are you? If you are, you just didn't notice. You're the one wearing the cape. Don't be looking for him to come busting and flying through the door. He already here. And as they say in some of the business circles, HBY, he be you. At any rate, we're following that, weren't you? Because we're still not talking about groups. We're talking about inside the brain. If a person tries to think to themselves, well, wait a minute, I am going to be the world's greatest thinker. Or I don't know if I can do that, but I'm going to tell you this, I'm going to be the world's freest thinker. I'm going to push the absolute limits. I'm going to ignore, brightly I might add, all the limitations, all the opinions, all the bias, all the prejudice, all the faulty information that I may have picked up along the way. I am just going to, nobody will know it, I'll sit here alone. I won't even answer an ad. I will just absolutely push the frontiers of my mind. Hold that. Now back to my little fictitious scene, the guy who says, are we having any, the guy who says to the people who showed up, all right, now we're going to be a group. I told you how I feel. I just want to think about anything. I want to discuss anything. I don't want any kind of point of view here. I don't want people's opinion. But we'll talk about politics, religion, but it's got to be on the basis that we're like clinical, objective observers from another planet. And we'll just think and we'll just have more fun. And they all go, yeah, you're the guy. Yes, that's the kind of thing I've been looking for. And he starts up and he says, and we won't have any Jews? And they go, yeah, I don't care either way, but yeah, we won't have any kind of, we're not going to elect anybody, anything. Yeah, that fits in. And we won't meet at any regular time. Now, do you follow? Forget Captain Irony unless you find the cape to make a personal fashion statement. There is no irony here. It is the basis of reality, but here it goes. And the guy says, we won't have any particular time to meet. Now, assuming they're reasonably intelligent, everybody understands, well, wait a minute. We're going too far. That sounds like the kind of thing, but, we can't do that. or we'll never meet if we don't know when we're going to meet. So, you hear? The eternal building fund drive has started. It's got to. For you to think. You can say, well, I'm going to think about anything I want to. And as soon as you do that, if you could do it the way I'm describing it, then that part of your own internal parliament, your own city, your own little crowd that showed up to hear you say, well, look, I'm going to push myself into whole new intellectual frontiers. And let's say that you got a few little dendrites around that go, hey, I've been wanting to hear that. You go, all right, we'll think about anything we want to. We won't listen to any of those old neural connections. We'll just ignore them. Oh, we can discuss them, but we're not going to take any view other than the fact that if they're already old and established, they're probably open to serious questions. Yeah, I've been wanting to hear that. All right, so, and I don't think I ain't know any more than the rest of you. I'm just, I'm a fairly unused brain synaptic connection, so I'm just here. I want to see where we can go, what new ones that we can connect to. Now I'll go, yeah, and you say, and so I'm not better than the rest of you, okay? And we won't have any kind of Jews. You don't have to think what I think, all right? You don't have to be kosher, no. And we won't have any particular time to think about this. That is no particular meeting time. I'm just using that one. I could come up with others. And then they got to go, well, how will we know when to do it? And you go, well, all right. I guess we're going to have one rule. Not rule, but I guess we're going to have to have one piece of established collective, here it goes, folks, collective agreement. Like, all right, we're going to meet on Tuesday, but nothing else. I mean, we're not going to meet on Tuesday because I said so. Let's vote. How about Tuesday? And I'll go, okay, as good as any. All right. Now you understand, we're going to meet on Tuesday, not because I said so. We all agree. And they go, okay. And then somebody's going to say, well, what time? And you think, oh shit, it's getting worse. Then you say, all right, 7:30. Everybody says, and you say, okay, nothing else. And then somebody says, where? A group of people, a group of synaptic connections, commonly referred to as one's personality, one's own mind, the neural city, at any reasonable level, has to have an eternal building fund drive for this group, for a group out here, for a group in here, for one's personality, to hold together, to know, not just to think, because it can still claim, well, look, I'm going to think anything I want to. That's fine. When and where, what time, you've got to set up a building fund drive, and it can never be temporary. That's why it's easy for cynicism to point out to some church, well, hey, you people bagged me for 10 years I've been here about we got to build that new auditorium, we got to build that new wing of the church. Jesus, I gave all kinds of money, we got the damn thing built, you gave me 2 weeks to breathe, and now here you are saying, well, we've already outgrown that. That's no form of cynicism. That shows that the place is still alive. You got no choice. If it wasn't that, it'd be something else. There has to be something going on that holds it together. Now, you would be within your rights to think, without any doubt, that us doing this here and even out of town, doing it by mail and you people getting tapes, and I haven't been in the other cities in many months. Some of you people, I've never been out there to see you. And you faithfully show up and you're handing out handbills and you've got us on TV stations and etc. And I even, the last epilogue we did, I was pointing out that you got to push forward. You got to get some more stations. We've got to do something to get more public, or I might just close it up. There are things that apparently have to be done, but I wanted to point out to you, we have not changed the subject from periodic stupidities of sorts. Other than the fact that in the 3D world, under any reasonable, sane circumstance, which I assume I have proven to your satisfaction, there's got to be an eternal building fund drive going on. It's just a fact. The philosophical, the freethinkers society, the library association, the church, the reformed neo-Buddhist Democrats cannot hold together unless there is busy work, unless there is something to do. You'd be within your rights to think that this has got to be the same way, and yet, what I want to tell you, in a way, there's stuff that's got to be done. But let me tell you, I wish that there was nothing to be done. I am tempted to stop there and let some of you work on that and then pick it up right there maybe a week from now. But we'll pretend, I slowed down so, and we'll pretend that you go, and if you can do it, you don't need a fucking week. I'll assume you've done it already. One of the things, which is the most minor, but I'm going to say it, of things is, if I didn't have to ask, or if I didn't ask anybody to do anything, then there would be no blatant, there would be no in-my-face evidence of returning stupidity. But now, forget that. What if you could live secondarily in such a way that you ask nothing of yourself? What if you did not need busy work? What if you did not need intellectually an eternal building fund drive? You would never have to be confronted with that part of your own thinking that suffers, as it will, from the periodic stupids. Doesn't give you another view of how it is that the real revolution has no theory, has no hypothesis, and even worse than that, it's got no goddamn aim. Not that the ordinary mind can say, because if the ordinary mind can say it, the aim might as well be out in a synagogue, a church, a political rally, a library association meeting. Not that they're wrong, but if there's an aim that's part of a collective, and the aim is tied to, well, here's what we got to do, it's not a revolution. Now, it's impossible, of course, to live on a skunk farm, on planet Earth. Just a joke. It's impossible to live here and not get wet. It's impossible to live here and not get ever touched by such unseemly elements as helium and oxygen and neon. Jesus. In other words, you've got to be affected. But consider the reason. I'm looking at the clock, see. I was going for you people out of town to pretend that we ran a tape in case I get a sensation of these mystical emanations already coming from, it's somewhere toward the west coast, I won't be more specific, of people already going, what in the hell is this? What if I said, I'm going back, you realize this is not a personal anecdote, I'm using us to get you to look somewhere else, using me here running this and me running it in other cities that we've already agreed that no matter what I try to verbally discount it, it wouldn't be going on if I wouldn't do it, so I'm saying me running this. So let go at that right now. If I said, all right, nobody do anything, I'm going to be here, I'll go this far, I'm going to be here Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at such and such time. And that was it. No handbills, no nothing. We just take whatever's going on now. I never even mention again, whatever the number of TV stations, whatever you people are doing, that I never again said, I wish you would do so-and-so, or you got to do so-and-so, or go out there and put out a handbill. Somebody get here early and put on the coffee. Somebody come open the door. What if I never again said anything to whatever it was? Of course, you understand to step into the 3D world. We'd have to take things as they are now and somewhere else. We couldn't start from ground zero and get it going. But assuming that now whatever's going on in Canada and Pennsylvania and New York and Oregon and California and Arizona and wherever else, that starting right now, I never said another word. I didn't say anything here. And if it came to it, every night I was here and I had a key and I opened the door and I came from the coffee. If somebody else was already here and did it, I didn't say anything. You know, other than nod, say hello. But I never asked anybody to do one other goddamn thing. This is not the point, you understand. And I'm not mad about something other than stupidity, but hell, you should be mad about that, or else recall the other Cairo tonight. The sergeant told him that if it takes somebody else to make you mad, you young whippersnappers, he was talking to the troops, he said worse than that. But he said, if it takes somebody else to make you mad, you still don't know what being mad's all about. That I never said another word to anybody to do anything But we'll assume that still things got done, the cameras got on. I didn't have to do it all because I can't go out there and cameraize myself, I don't assume. But if I never asked for anything else, for anybody to do anything, in a way, I wish I could do that. Not for any particular reason, not because I'm mad or not because, boy, everybody's I get so disappointed by you dunderheads. It's not that. Of course, I do get disappointed in you dunderheads, but shit, that ain't nothing. You understand? That's like me saying, well, yeah, I get mad at you. That's nothing. If it takes you to make me mad, I don't know what you're doing here. As far as being dunderheads or a source of amazement or amusement or madness, you people are nothing. I don't need this shit. I got a goddamn mirror. I assume you get the point. So it's not simply me saying, well, boy, I wish I didn't have to ask anybody to do anything, because then I could just, anytime somebody doesn't do exactly what I said, that, hey, have the coffee made and have it hot when I get here, and I come in, it's not here, and I think, well, goddamn, you fucking idiot. I wish I should just do it myself, so I don't have to ask somebody. No. But now back, can you figure it out at all? I wish personally, and I wish non-personally, that I didn't have to, and I'm saying this kind of activity, to ask you to do anything at all. That's not a trick. We don't look for that, well, there's some kind of subliminal message, there's some kind of sarcastic, no, there's another message, but it's not hidden in there. It's in another direction. Because then, now forget all this and back to you. How in the hell, and I'll take it at the ordinary level, to take that backdoor approach, how could you operate? How could you run your life if you didn't ask you to do anything? The answer is you couldn't. But I'm telling you what the thing about the revolution, all the Buddhas and all those other people that you dreamed about, I don't mean him personally, but this is to the point that there is no point. Which is the same thing as saying, well, I didn't ask me to do anything. And you cannot start off from there unless you're going to suddenly hear it and think, hey, I knew it. I am a reincarnated California Zen student from the 1950s. You can't start off from there unless you had such strange dreams. But you hear, what if you could operate here in such a way, and it would reflect in life, but that's not the point, that you could operate such a way in here that you did not ask you to do anything. It's impossible at the ordinary level. Having said that, I still wish that I did not have to ask any of you to do anything. And it's not for the reasons I've already said that they're not. They're still not. Anything that you're doing out there, I'm awfully close to just not asking anybody to do anything. And you got to figure out why, because I already told you it's not so that I don't go, oh, boy, am I disappointed. I ask people to do things, and they don't do them. There are things that need to be done. I can't help it. But I just would say to everybody, for your own self-interest, they ought to get done. I wish there was nothing to do. Because if there's nothing to do, well, here we go out with a Zen blaze of glory. If there was nothing to do, then we could do something. Somebody see if you can find me a nice little place over close to Berkeley, so I'll feel at home. Well, hell, we started talking. Let's take another view. Those of you who have lasted this long. Me saying, which is true, part of it's the demands of a 3D world. We've got to continually sort of bring in new people. That's the way I've always described it. Bring in new food, new blood, here and other places if I'm going to continue to take any of the other cities seriously and send out the tape, etc. That you got to bring in new people. Why? Is it for any known reason? No. Yeah, but all right, and if we're going to play ordinary, you're back to this. Well, wait a minute. The more people we get, the better knownness we'll get. The more we got handbills of your name we handed out, and the more stations we get on, your name, You know, it's across the bottom there, and the prayer line request that they can call in. You know, the more we do that, the more famous you'll get. I mean, if it's not a reason in there somewhere, what the hell reason is it? No, I ask you first. If anybody doesn't like that, then you're faced with, again, having to extract this from us talking about us and everybody else and ask, well, why the hell am I doing this? And nobody really wants to do that. Back at the old level, I'll put it to you another way. Nobody really wants to do that. You didn't think I was a different version? All right, I'll put it to you this way. Nobody wants to do that! I mean, why somebody... You cannot turn, no matter who you are, no matter how educated, you cannot turn to your own brain and say, wait a minute, I've been doing this now for a long time, or I'm doing it very sincerely, and what reason am I doing this? And you say, for none. Absolutely no reason. I'm quite assured of that. You can't do that. It's not... Don't say I'm going to fake it, or, well, you cannot do it. It would be very similar to, you can take your choice. Reaching down to the plug, running your toaster, taking a toaster as being your brain, or those of you who don't like that, a wearing blender, and reach down to the ripcord, and there's two lines on an AC cord, and you pull one loose. I assume all of you know enough that the appliance will not run. It's either that, or I can think of another quick one and do your own. You end up electrocuted. Huh? The ordinary intellect could not ask itself in any kind of reasonable, you just cannot fashion. There's no proper answer to say, wait a minute, you mean that I'm trying to do this and there's no reason to it? You know, if I insisted, well, everybody that's going to continue here, you're going to have to raise your hand, you're going to have to finally stand up, and you're going to have to repeat after me, I understand that trying to think like this, trying to get my brain going this way, has no purpose whatsoever. I swear I understand that. Let's assume I can make you do that. That means nothing. Why would a person get up unless they thought there was some reason? Why would you do anything in life? And you can say, well, this is completely different. Until you understand how different it is, it's not completely different. And it cannot say, well, all right, I'm not going to ask anything of me. Because the only way you can do that is already past the point of talking about that is to understand there's nothing to ask of you. Not back at that level. You can ask all you want to. You can ask, will you be here tomorrow? You ask yourself, will you be here tomorrow night when they have that first important meeting? Yes, I'll be there. There's no doubt. And you'll really do your best. You're very interested in this, and you'll give it your best shot. Hey, count me in. You're talking to the right guy. What else can you do? The employer says, all right, now we need a good man. You look like a prime prospect for us, and so we'll count on you. You'll be here tomorrow morning at 7:30, right? Yes, sir. And you find the salary satisfactory. Oh, yes, sir. You like the sound of the job. Love the description. I'll be right here. You cannot operate off of just one line plugged in. The old intellect cannot in any way conceive of it. Can't answer. There's no right or wrong answer. It can fake it and say, yes, I did read a Zen book. I keep doing that. I assume some of you understand. It's like trying to ask, the Greeks did it and everybody else, but the unfathomable, the unanswerable question. Only children, only kiddie revolutions say, let's contemplate the unanswerable question. Because the unanswerable question, I got the main one for them, is what time do you guys meet? You do follow, right? Or do I have to? You say, well, you people are really working on it. You don't have any kind of rules or regulations. No, there's no limit to your horizons intellectually and what you contemplate. No sirree. We're Zen through and through. Our whole life is contemplating the uncontemplatable. What time do you meet? 7:30. So you understand, for this thing to stay alive at all, and I say this thing, for me to keep doing this, there has to be things done. I hate to even say what they are. I can say, well, every now and then I pick them out. Well, all right, we've got to have more people. We've got to get this now on, we're up to date now on TV. Now we got to have more stations. We got to have more handbills. For it now to be something fucking else, it'd have to be. And you cannot say, though, I cannot say to any of you, and even if you try to participate and say, wait a minute, I'm getting sharp enough, I understand that. It's not a matter of you saying you understand it. If it wasn't that, it'd have to be something else. And so it is a trick when I said stupidness periodically falls heavier on everybody. If you didn't have to do anything, if nothing was asked of you, to start off externally, if nothing was asked of you, nobody could ever find out that you were being unusually stupid. Right? If I never asked, if none of you had any sort of responsibility whatsoever, and you just showed up here, just kind of accidentally at the time that we meet, and just accidentally on the days we meet, and you sat there and you smiled and you didn't make rude noises, how would I ever know that you're more stupid than you just generally are? You could say, well, you wouldn't. But if I ask you one thing, like, will you be here 5 minutes early next Tuesday? You're asking for it. Because look, you can say, well, that's simple as hell. I was going to be here at the regular time anyway. I was going to be here at 7:30, and you're saying, well, I'll be here at 7:25? Sure, that's no problem. But you got to know. You cannot predict the future, unless you're Gene Dixon or somebody. That the unusual stupids may get you, and you might forget about it. And after being here all of this time, and smiling at me, and me smiling back, and you imagine that I've already picked you out as being one of the exceptionally sharp people here. And every now and then I'll say something apparently profound and witty, and I'll look at you and kind of nod, and you nod back like, it's me and you. I don't know about the rest of it. But now, and I said, will you be here 5 minutes early? And you say, count on me, Chief. And the stupids get you. You understand? If I never asked you to do anything, how would I ever know that you were unusually stupid? Even just temporarily. What if you could do that to you? What if you could be you and you didn't ask anything, which, one more time, you should know, an ordinary person can't do that. They can dream about it. They can even write books about it, called, Can You Believe This? There was a trick behind all of this, besides the literalness of it, is I wish, which I don't know what the hell to tell you to make of that. I wish that I did not have to ask anybody to do anything in particular other than, tell you what time we're going to be here, and that things are set enough to where the door would get open, the lights turned on, the cameras run, etc. Of course, at one time, you remember, we didn't have anything like that. We just, it was a time, and you showed up, and I talked and other shit. But I wish, whatever that means, whatever the purpose, I wish I didn't have to ask anybody to do anything. Then you consider, could you wish that for you? I wish I didn't have to tell myself to do anything. Well, see, I don't have to apologize to you motherfuckers like I do on that tape. I'm going to tell you, there was a purpose to this. It wasn't I was suddenly overcome with some kind of uncontrollable desire to do an epilogue. There are things that got to be done, and I trust they'll get done, but I wish I didn't have to ask anybody to do anything, and then you consider, what if you could do that to yourself? I wish I didn't have to ask me to do anything. Oh, all right. For those of you in Oregon, I'll finish the rest of the sentence. I wish I didn't have to ask myself to do anything. Well, completely coming apart, which if you didn't figure out, in the great Pacific Northwest, if an ordinary person could do that, they would. Come apart like a cheap flywheel at a blue light special that you thought was the auto department, and it turned out that Kmart had confused yesterday's meatloaf for that flywheel. Because if an ordinary person could live even try in some way on the basis of I'm not going to ask me to do anything. I think my description, if that could be done, I think my description of coming apart would adequately describe their condition. I didn't leave anybody out this time, did I? Should I name all the 50 states and all the provinces of Canada? Who was in? Somebody in Mexico for a while. Oh, never mind. That was all. That was all.